What if you woke up one morning and found out that President Donald Trump declared a state of emergency? The emergency was that we're under attack from enemies within, and that anyone who opposes him or disagrees with him is a traitor, is a dissident, and is an enemy of the state, and they will be arrested on sight. You might take a step back, allow your mind to focus on what he actually said, until you realize that you would be on that list. Hi, I'm David Thompson. Is it possible? Yes. It's possible for that to happen, but many of you are going to tell me, David, we have a constitution. He can't do it. Okay, that's true. But he has threatened it many, many times. He threatened over 100 people before he became president and hundreds more after. He wants to do it. He wants to pull the trigger, but he really can't right now. The optics would be bad. But keep in mind, there's danger for him. He's losing his grip. His poll ratings are tumbling. People are protesting against him across this land and around the world. He must find a way to maintain power. 2026, midterm elections. He now understands that he could lose both houses to the Democrats. This would be very bad. So he comes up with a plan to declare an emergency. There are evil people in this world, and his believers, his followers, MAGA, and everyone else will believe him. They'll believe anything he says. So he decides to go to the Homeland Security Office and tell Kristi Noem to create a new agency called the Dissident Reprogramming Department. It's a new department with authority to arrest anybody who's suspected of disagreeing or opposing Donald Trump. How would you feel? You're on edge. Does anybody really know that you disagree with him? Have you said anything on Facebook or social media to your friends? Then you realize it. Uh-oh, I have friends who are all MAGA, right-wing Christians. All of them love President Trump and support him. You realize that you have said things against him in conversations with them, that you've debated them. Now you start to worry. What will happen next? For the sake of this story, we're going to call our hero Bob. Now, who was Bob? Well, Bob grew up Democrat, in a Democratic town with a Democratic family. They all leaned left, believed in the New Deal, believed in unions. But as he got older, he fell into the Ronald Reagan mysticism trap. He believed Ronald Reagan was the best thing that could have happened to the United States, even though Ronald Reagan personally tried to destroy everything about the New Deal. But as time moved on and Donald Trump came into the picture, Bob had to make a decision. He had to decide whether to vote for Donald Trump, who he knew was not a good guy, to what he believed was worse. So he voted for Donald Trump. But in those 4 years, he found out that Donald Trump was a dud, was a liar, and everything about him stunk. But again, he had to stay with his president. He went through Joe Biden, and Donald Trump ran again. Bob voted for him again, but this time even with more hesitancy. Bob then began to realize how bad the tariffs were for America, how many people he hated, how he divided the country greater than it's ever been. So Bob decides to change, to go back to his liberal-leaning ways. The problem is that over the years, Bob made friends with all conservative people, right-wing Christians, many Christian nationalists, and many far-right people, including MAGA. All of them. He had no friends that were liberal, at least not that many, and not ones he has talked to in many years. So what would he do? How would he handle this? Because he was now an enemy of the state. He had confronted his friends about Donald Trump. They had had discussions with him, arguments with him. His girlfriend, we'll call her Lilith, was somebody who was very right-wing, far-right Christian, and a part of MAGA. He was hoping that even though he disagreed with her, they could have some disagreements and still have their relationship. They would still love each other. His family and friends, he hoped, would understand as well. So Bob had a decision to make, whether to let it go and hide and hopefully nothing came of this, or to confront his friends and tell them that he's still a left-wing person, but he still loved them and he hoped they would trust him enough to let everything slide, to not make any big deal of it, that his girlfriend Lilith would still love him and understand him and accept him as he was. Well, he couldn't have made a bigger mistake. So we have a turning point here. Bob decides to discuss the situation with Lilith, hoping she would understand. After all, he was going to propose to her in December. They had plans for a future. But that conversation didn't go well for Lilith and Bob. Lilith told him they needed some time apart, and he left. And from that point on, Bob's fate was sealed. Hey, if you like the story I'm telling, if you like our content here on the David Tomsic Show, please like, subscribe, and share our videos. And while you're at it, hit that bell icon so we can let you know when we've released a new video for your enjoyment. Thanks again. Let's get back to the video. So this leads us to the first turning point here. Lilith goes behind Bob's back and talks to his friends and family, gathers them all together, and they talk about him being a traitor to the country, a traitor to the president. In the meantime, on the news, there's headlines. This new department is arresting people all over the place, taking them out of their homes and their workplaces, and they're taking them away. Now, the news is reporting that these people are not being taken to concentration camps. On the contrary, they're being taken to country club-type facilities around the country so that they can be reprogrammed, reconditioned, helped to understand that Donald Trump's the answer to everything. After seeing these headlines, Lilith and Bob's friends and family are convinced that the right thing to do would be to turn Bob in. Bob would never know what hit him. The betrayal. Now, this is the part of the story we find the true betrayal. Bob gets a phone call from Lilith. She says, "I'm sorry, let's talk. We can talk this out. Come on over." Excitedly, Bob gets in his car and drives to her apartment. What he doesn't realize is that in front of the apartment, there are two black SUVs. He sees them, but never considers any type of danger from them. He goes into the building, presses 2, and goes up to his girlfriend's apartment. He knocks on the door, and she says, "Come in." And as he walks in, he sees Lilith and a dozen of his friends and family members behind her, staring at him. He's confused. He's wondering what's going on here. What Bob didn't notice was that there was a man in a dark suit approaching him from his left. He pulls out a badge and shows that he's from the Department of Homeland Security. Bob is shocked. He stares at him. He looks back over at his family that are still standing there motionless. He looks into Lilith's eyes. She has no emotion at all. Then she says, "Bob, it's for your own good." Behind him, 2 men dressed in fatigues with body armor, masks, and hats grabbed his arms and drove him in the ground. They placed a hood over his face, handcuffed him, and shackled his legs. He was then dragged out of the apartment and thrown into the back of one of those SUVs. He was driven off, never to be heard from again. The truth is, there was no country club facilities for these people. They were going to federal prison. They were going to black sites. They were disappeared. So here's the conclusion. Is this story real? No. Is it possible? Yes. Has it happened before? Guaranteed. Will it happen in America? Very possible. Looking out for our freedoms is important. So many people we know believe that Donald Trump is everything to this country. They overlook all his flaws and all the issues he's created. They overlook the destroying of our freedoms. They have no issue with it at all because they have something ultimately to gain. Their own freedom, mental freedom from the fear that minorities, that people that aren't like them represent. They want to hide them. They want to toss them into these dark sites. Wasn't it Brian Kilmeade, a Fox News host, that said that homeless people should be given lethal injections? This is where we're at. This is where our country is going. And although right now you have a right to speak like I do right here, that could pass quickly. It will only take one executive order. It will only take one statement, one emergency, one event that can be used against Donald Trump's adversaries. That's all it will take. And then you'll find that there's a new Department of Homeland Security that will take you from your home and disappear you forever. That's all the time I have. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share our videos. Hit that bell icon. That'll get you set up for notifications, and we'll let you know when we've released a new video. Comment if you have a comment. We appreciate hearing from you. Don't forget to watch the next video. That helps us out. And also, remember to love your neighbor as yourself. Thank you for watching The David Tomsic Show. We'll see you next time.